I didn't believe in fate until the night I crashed into Dante Moretti's world, literally. The rain came down in sheets, turning the Boston streets into rivers of neon and shadow. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my ancient Honda, knuckles white as I squinted through the smeared windshield. I was late. Again. My shift at the diner had run over, and now I was racing across town to pick up my sister from her night class. The intersection appeared out of nowhere. So did the black SUV. I slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. Metal crunched. The airbag exploded in my face, and for a moment, there was nothing but white silence and the taste of blood in my mouth. When I finally pushed the deflated airbag away and stumbled out of my car, my entire body was shaking. The SUV, a gleaming monster of chrome and tinted windows, sat at an angle in the intersection, barely scratched. My Honda looked like it had been fed through a compressor. No, no, no! I pressed my hands to my head, panic rising in my throat. I couldn't afford this. I couldn't afford anything. The driver's door of the SUV opened. A man stepped out, and everything stopped. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out his black suit like it had been tailored to intimidate. Dark hair, pushed back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp jaw, high cheekbones, but it was his eyes that made my breath catch. Dark, impossibly dark, the kind of eyes that saw everything and gave nothing away. He looked at my crumpled car, then at me. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those eyes, something that made my stomach drop. "Are you hurt?" His voice was low, controlled, with an edge that suggested he didn't ask questions twice. I'm fine. I'm so sorry." The light I didn't see. Words tumbled out of me in a panicked rush. "I have insurance. Well, minimal insurance. But I can pay for damages. I'll figure it out. He raised one hand, and I stopped talking immediately. The gesture was subtle, almost lazy, but it carried absolute authority. "Your lip is bleeding." I touched my mouth and my fingers came away red. "It's nothing. Just from the airbag." He studied me for a long moment, rain soaking through his expensive suit, and I had the strangest sensation that he was cataloging everything about me: my cheap uniform, my second-hand coat, the desperation probably written all over my face. Then he turned to the SUV and spoke to someone inside. "Check the damage." A man emerged from the passenger side, shorter, stockier, with cold eyes and a visible shoulder holster beneath his jacket. My heart stuttered. A gun. He was carrying a gun. "Boss," the front bumper's scratched, "but I don't care about the car." The tall man's voice cut through the rain. "Get hers towed. Take her wherever she needs to go." "What?" I blinked at him. "No, I can call someone. I don't need. It's raining. Your car is destroyed, and you're bleeding." He stepped closer, and suddenly the space between us felt electric, dangerous. "I'm not leaving you on the side of the road." There was something in his tone, not quite concern, but something close to it. Something that made no sense coming from a man who clearly moved through the world expecting obedience. "I don't even know you." His mouth curved slightly. Not quite a smile. More like the ghost of one. Dante Moretti. The name hit me like a second collision. Moretti. Even someone like me, someone who kept her head down, and her world small, knew that name. The Morettis owned half of Boston's underworld. Money laundering, protection rackets, rumors of things much darker. They were the kind of family you read about in crime novels, the kind you crossed the street to avoid. And I'd just crashed into one of them. I really should go." My voice came out thin. "Where?" He tilted his head slightly. "Walking?" Before I could answer, the stocky man returned. "Tow trucks? On the way. 5 minutes." Dante nodded, then looked back at me. The rain plastered his dark hair to his forehead, made his white shirt cling to his chest. He should have looked uncomfortable. Instead, he looked like he owned the storm. "What's your name?" I shouldn't tell him. Every instinct screamed at me to lie, to run, to put as much distance between myself and this man as possible. "Elena," I heard myself say. "Elena Russo." Something changed in his expression so subtle I almost missed it. A flicker of interest. Recognition, maybe. But then it was gone, replaced by that same impenetrable mask. "Elena," he said my name like he was tasting it. "Get in the car. I should wait for the tow. My driver will handle it." He opened the back door of the SUV. You need medical attention. I don't. Your hands are shaking. You're in shock. He leaned in slightly, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with rain. And you're standing in the middle of an intersection, arguing with someone who's trying to help you. So, get in the car. It wasn't a request. And God help me, I obeyed. The interior of the SUV was warm, leather-scented, obscenely luxurious. I slid across the seat, and Dante followed, sitting close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. The door closed with a heavy thunk, sealing us in together. The driver, a silent man with scars on his knuckles, pulled away from the intersection. I pressed myself against the door, my heart hammering. Where are you taking me? Where do you need to go? Suffolk University. My sister, she's waiting. He nodded to the driver, who changed direction smoothly. We sat in silence for several blocks. I couldn't stop stealing glances at him. In the close confines of the car, he seemed even larger, more overwhelming, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with the gun I'd seen on his associate. Why are you helping me? I finally asked. He turned his head, and our eyes met. In the passing streetlights, his face was all sharp angles and shadow. Because you looked at me like I was human, he said quietly. Not many people do that anymore. Before I could process that, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor shifted. The brief glimpse of humanity vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. Stop the car. The driver pulled over immediately. Dante's jaw tightened as he read whatever message had come through. Then he looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Elena Russo, he said slowly. Younger sister attending Suffolk on scholarship. Works at Rosie's Diner on Boylston. Lives in a one-bedroom apartment in Dorchester with said sister. He leaned forward slightly. Father died 6 months ago. Supposedly a heart attack. The air left my lungs. Who are you really? His voice was soft, deadly. And why did you crash into my car tonight? The warmth I'd felt moments ago turned to ice. I don't understand. My voice shook despite my best efforts to keep it steady. It was an accident. The rain, the intersection. There are no accidents in my world, Elena. Dante's eyes never left mine, and in them, I saw the predator I'd sensed beneath his civilized surface. People who cross my path are either threats or assets. So which are you? My fingers dug into the leather seat. I'm a waitress. I crashed into your car because I was distracted and the roads were slick. That's all. Your father. He leaned back, but somehow the extra distance made him more intimidating, not less. Vincent Russo. Worked as a custodian at Blackstone Finance for 20 years. Died suddenly last March. They ruled it natural causes. The mention of my father felt like a knife between my ribs. What does my father have to do with anything? Blackstone Finance launders money for the Castellano family. His tone was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. They're my enemies. Your father worked there for 2 decades, died under suspicious circumstances, and 6 months later, his daughter crashes into my car. He tilted his head. You see my concern. My father was a janitor. The words came out sharp, angry. He mopped floors. He had nothing to do with whatever criminal enterprise you're talking about. Everyone has something to do with something, Elena. Even janitors see things. Hear things. He saw dirt. He heard vacuum cleaners. I was shaking now, but not from fear. From rage. He was a good man who worked himself to death trying to give his daughters a better life. Don't you dare make him into something he wasn't. Dante studied me for a long moment. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft idle of the engine and the drumming of rain on the roof. Finally, he reached into his jacket and I flinched. He noticed. Something flickered across his face, too quick to name. What he pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a handkerchief. Expensive, monogrammed, with his initials. He held it out to me. Your lip. It's still bleeding. I stared at the white fabric, then at him, completely thrown by the gesture. Slowly I took it and pressed it to my mouth. It smelled like him, clean, expensive, with an undertone of something darker. I believe you, he said quietly. What? About your father. About the accident. He glanced out the window at the rain-soaked streets. I've interrogated enough liars to know when someone's telling the truth. You crashed into me because you're a terrible driver in bad weather, Not because you're a spy for the Castellanos. Relief flooded through me, so intense it made me dizzy. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He turned back, and there was something different in his eyes now. Not suspicion, something else. Something that made my pulse quicken. Because you're still a problem. How am I a problem? You know who I am. You know I had you investigated within minutes of our meeting. You've seen my men carrying weapons. He leaned forward again, close enough that I could see flecks of amber in his dark eyes. You know too much to simply walk away. My mouth went dry. What are you saying? I'm saying that letting you go puts my organization at risk. You could talk to the police, the FBI, my enemies. I won't. The words came out in a rush. I swear I won't say anything to anyone. I just want to pick up my sister and forget this whole night ever happened. And I'm supposed to trust that? Trust you? Yes. He laughed, a low, dark sound that raised goosebumps on my arms. Beautiful and naive. Dangerous combination. I'm not. I stopped, caught on his words. Beautiful? The corner of his mouth lifted. You didn't know? Heat flooded my cheeks. This was insane. I was sitting in a car with a crime boss who'd just admitted he saw me as a threat, and somehow we'd veered into... What? Flirting? You're trying to distract me, I said. Is it working? No. Liar. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and brushed his thumb across my chin, just below my bleeding lip. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. You're a terrible liar, Elena Russo. Everything you feel shows on your face. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His hand was still on my face, his thumb now tracing my jawline, and every nerve in my body was screaming at me to move, to run. I stayed frozen. I should kill you, he murmured. That's what my father would have done, what my advisors would recommend, but you won't. I don't know where the certainty came from, but I felt it in my bones. No. His eyes searched mine. I won't. Why not? Because you looked at me like I was human. Remember? His hand dropped away, and I immediately missed the warmth of it. And because I think your father might have been murdered. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Vincent Russo. Heart attack at age 54. No prior history of heart disease. Died alone in the Blackstone Finance building after hours. Dante's expression had gone cold again, calculated. 2 weeks later, Blackstone's CEO disappeared with $15 million of Castellano money. That's not coincidence. My vision blurred. You're saying someone killed my father? I'm saying it's possible. Likely. Even. If he saw something he shouldn't have, heard something dangerous. Dante's jaw tightened. The Castellanos clean up loose ends. Permanently. No. I shook my head, denial rising like bile. The police investigated. They said. The police say what they're paid to say, Elena. You think the Castellanos don't own half the department? I pressed the handkerchief to my mouth again, but not because of the bleeding. Because I thought I might be sick. My father. My kind, tired, overworked father who'd never hurt anyone in his life. Murdered. And I'd spent 6 months thinking he'd just given up. That his heart had given out from exhaustion and disappointment. Why are you telling me this? My voice cracked. Because I want to know the truth. Dante's tone softened slightly. And because, if the Castellanos killed an innocent man, I want to make them pay for it. Why would you care? You said he was just a janitor. Because the enemy of my enemy interests me. He studied my face. And because you interest me, I don't understand. Neither do I. Yet. He glanced at his watch, expensive, probably cost more than a year of my rent, then nodded to the driver. Take us to Suffolk. The car started moving again. I sat in stunned silence, my mind reeling. My father, murdered. This man, this dangerous, powerful man offering to help me find out why. What do you want from me? I finally asked. Dante looked at me, and in his eyes I saw something that made my stomach flip. Everything, he said quietly. But we'll start with trust. The car pulled up to Suffolk's main building. Through the rain-streaked window, I could see my sister Lucia standing under the awning, phone pressed, to her ear, looking worried. I reached for the door handle. Elena. Dante's hand caught my wrist, not hard, but firm. This isn't over. I know. You have my number now. He gestured to my phone, and I realized with a start that while I'd been in shock, someone had already programmed it in. When you're ready to learn the truth about your father, call me. And if I don't?" His grip tightened fractionally. "Then you'll spend the rest of your life wondering, looking over your shoulder, waiting for the Castellanos to remember that Vincent Russo had daughters." Fear spiked through me. "You're saying we're in danger?" "I'm saying knowledge is protection. And right now, I'm the only one who can give you both." He released my wrist. I pushed open the door, stepping into the rain. I'd made it 3 steps when his voice stopped me. "Elena." I turned back. He was silhouetted in the doorway of the SUV, rain falling around him like a curtain. "Drive more carefully. Next time you might hit someone who won't be so understanding." Then the door closed, and the SUV pulled away, leaving me standing in the rain with my sister's voice calling my name and a mobster's number burning in my phone. I had no idea that the man who'd just driven away had already decided I was his, and that decision would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. Lucia had peppered me with questions the moment I got in her beat-up replacement rental. Where was my car? Who was that in the SUV? Why did I look like I'd seen a ghost? But I couldn't find words that made sense. How could I explain that our father's death might have been murder? That I'd stumbled into the orbit of Boston's most dangerous crime family? That a man with eyes like midnight had touched my face and made me forget how to breathe? I'd mumbled something about the accident, insurance complications, and a good Samaritan giving me a ride. Lucia didn't believe me. My sister had always been able to read my lies, but she let it drop. Now, at 3 a.m, I stood at our apartment's tiny window, watching the street below. Every car that passed made my heart jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. "You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder." Dante's words echoed in my mind. My phone sat on the kitchen counter, Dante Moretti's number glowing like a dare. I'd picked it up a dozen times, put it down a dozen more. What was I even considering? Calling a mobster? Asking him for help? Everything rational in me screamed that this was insane, that I should block his number and pretend tonight never happened. But the irrational part, the part that remembered my father's face at his funeral, how hollow my mother had looked before cancer took her too, that part whispered, what if Dante's right? What if my father had been killed? What if Lucia and I were next? I pressed my forehead against the cool glass. Boston sprawled before me, all glittering lights and dark secrets. Somewhere out there, Dante Moretti was probably in some mansion, surrounded by armed men and blood money, not giving me a second thought. Except, he had looked at me like I mattered, like I was more than just a complication to be solved. "You interest me." God, I was losing my mind. I grabbed my phone and opened his contact. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I heard it, a soft creak from the hallway outside our apartment. The building was old, always settling, but this sound was different, deliberate. I froze. Another creak, closer. My pulse thundered in my ears. Slowly, I moved to the door and checked the peephole. A man stood in the hallway, dark clothes, baseball cap pulled low, hands shoved in his pockets. He wasn't moving, just standing there, facing our door. Terror shot through me like electricity. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my phone. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't exhaustion playing tricks. There was a man outside our apartment at 3 a.m, and every instinct I had screamed danger. I pressed the call button. Dante answered on the first ring. "Elena, there's someone outside my door." The words tumbled out in a whispered rush. "A man. He's just standing there. I don't know what to do. Where's your sister?" "Asleep. In the bedroom. Lock the bedroom door. Now." His voice was completely calm, completely controlled. "Stay on the line with me." I ran to Lucia's room, locked the door from the outside, then retreated to the bathroom, the only room with a lock from the inside. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the deadbolt. "I'm locked in," I whispered. "Good girl." I heard him moving, heard voices in the background. "My men are 5 minutes away. Can you see him?" "No, I'm in the bathroom." "But Dante," my voice cracked. "What if he breaks in? What if—" "He won't. Not if he knows what's good for him." Something dangerous edged into his tone. "Elena, listen to me. You're going to be fine. I've got people coming. You're safe. How did you—" I stopped, realization crashing over me. "You had someone watching me. Already." A pause. "Yes, you said you believed me. You said I did believe you. I also don't take chances with loose ends. And you, Elena." He exhaled slowly. You became very important to me very quickly. I should have been furious, terrified, but all I felt was a strange, twisted relief. The man outside, I whispered. Is he yours? No. Mine are in a car 2 blocks over. They're moving now. A crash from the apartment. The sound of our front door splintering. I bit down on my fist to keep from screaming. Elena? Dante's voice sharpened. Elena, talk to me. He's inside. I could barely form words. He broke the door. 2 minutes. Hold on for 2 minutes. Footsteps in the apartment. Heavy. Purposeful. I heard Lucia's door rattle. Her groggy voice. Elena? What's going on? Stay in there, I shouted. Don't open the door. Smart girl. Dante's voice in my ear, steady as a heartbeat. Keep him focused on you. Away from your sister. How do I? Make noise. Let him know where you are. Every survival instinct I had rebelled against the idea, but I understood his logic. If the intruder found me first, Lucia would be safe. I knocked over the bathroom's metal trash can. It clattered against the tile. The footsteps stopped, then changed direction, toward me. He's coming, I breathed. 30 seconds, Elena. My men are in the building. The bathroom doorknob rattled. I pressed myself against the far wall, phone clutched to my chest, Dante's voice the only thing keeping me from dissolving into panic. Elena? A man's voice, muffled through the door. I just want to talk. She's not interested, Dante said in my ear. Don't respond. The doorknob rattled harder. Then the door shook. He was trying to force it. 10 seconds, Dante said. The door shook again. The frame groaned. 5 seconds. Another crash. The wood around the lock began to splinter. Then gunshots. 2 of them. Sharp cracks that made my ears ring even through the walls. Shouts. Scuffling. Silence. A knock on the bathroom door. Miss Russo, it's safe now. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Elena, Dante's voice urgent. That's Marco. He's mine. You can open the door. Slowly, my hands shaking, I unlocked the door. A broad-shouldered man with kind eyes stood in the hallway. Behind him, 2 more men were hauling someone the intruder toward the shattered front door. The man's face was bloody, his arm hanging at a wrong angle. Are you hurt? Marco asked. I shook my head mutely. Your sister? Still in the bedroom. He nodded and stepped aside, revealing the destruction of my tiny apartment. Furniture overturned, glass everywhere, blood on the floor. Elena, Dante's voice pulled me back. Put Marco on. I handed over the phone numbly. Marco listened, said yes sir, twice, then handed it back. Pack a bag, Dante said. You and your sister. Enough for a few days. What? That man was Castellano. They know where you live. They know your father had daughters. His voice brooked no argument. You're not safe there anymore. We can't just leave. We have nowhere. You're coming to me. My breath caught. What? My home. My protection. Until I figure out what the Castellanos want and how to end this. A pause. Unless you'd prefer to stay there and wait for them to send someone else? I looked at the blood on my floor. At Lucia's door, behind which my sister was probably terrified. At the splintered bathroom frame that had almost failed to protect me. We'll pack, I whispered. Good. Marco will drive you. Dante. I didn't know what I was going to say. Thank you? I'm scared? Why are you doing this? I've got you, Elena. His voice dropped, intimate despite the violence surrounding us. You're mine to protect now. Nothing's going to hurt you. The line went dead, and I stood there, in the wreckage of my life, realizing I'd just agreed to move into a mobster's home, with my sister, indefinitely. What terrified me most wasn't the danger. It wasn't the Castellanos or the blood or the shattered door. It was how much I wanted Dante's promise to be true. Dante Moretti's home was not a house. It was a fortress disguised as a mansion. Marco drove us through gates that looked like they belonged to an embassy, past gardens lit by subtle ground lights, around a fountain that probably cost more than I'd earn in my lifetime. The building itself was old-world, elegant 3 stories of pale stone and arched windows, with wings stretching out like protective arms. Beautiful. Intimidating. Exactly like its owner. Holy shit, Lucia whispered beside me. At 19, she was still young enough to be impressed by obvious wealth. This is where we're staying? Temporarily, I said, though I had no idea if that was true. The SUV stopped at the main entrance. Before Marco could come around, the front doors opened, and a woman emerged, tall, silver-haired, with the kind of posture that suggested she'd once been a dancer or a soldier. Miss Russo, Miss Lucia. Her accent was vaguely European. I'm Camilla. Mr. Moretti asked me to see you settled. Please, come in. Lucia and I exchanged glances, grabbed our hastily packed bags, and followed her inside. If the exterior was impressive, the interior was stunning. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art that looked like it belonged in museums. But it wasn't ostentatious, everything had a purpose, a place, elegant without being cold. Your rooms are on the second floor, East Wing, Camilla said as we climbed a sweeping staircase. Mr. Moretti's private quarters are in the West Wing. You'll have your own bathroom, sitting area, and balcony. This is too much, I started to protest. Camilla gave me a look that could have cut glass. Mr. Moretti does not do things by halves, Miss Russo. You'll find that everything here is too much by normal standards. You'll adjust. She showed us to 2 connected rooms, both larger than our entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens. The bed in my room was enormous, draped in soft linens, fresh flowers on the dresser, a bowl of fruit that looked too perfect to be real. Someone will bring dinner shortly, Camilla said. Mr. Moretti will join you when he arrives. When is that? Lucia asked. When his business is concluded. Camilla's expression didn't change, but I caught the emphasis on business. Rest. You're safe here. Then she was gone, closing the door with a soft click. Lucia immediately flopped onto my bed. Okay, start explaining. And don't give me that bullshit about Good Samaritans. This, she gestured at the opulence surrounding us, is not normal. I sank into the chair by the window, exhaustion finally catching up with me. The man I hit tonight? His name is Dante Moretti. Moretti. Lucia's eyes widened. As in, the Moretti family? Elena, are you insane? I didn't know who he was when I crashed into him. I rubbed my temples. And then things escalated. He thinks Dad's death wasn't an accident. He thinks the people Dad worked for might have killed him. What people? The Castellanos, a rival crime family. I watched her face drain of color. The man who broke into our apartment tonight? He was sent by them. Lucia sat up slowly. You're telling me Dad was murdered, and now we're targets? I don't know. Maybe. That's what Dante's trying to figure out. Dante. She said his name like it was foreign. You're on a first-name basis with a mob boss? He's... I trailed off. What was he? My protector? My captor? The most dangerous and compelling man I'd ever met? It's complicated. Elena. Lucia's voice went soft, worried. You know this is insane, right? We should be talking to the police, not hiding in a criminal's mansion. Dante says the police are bought, that the Castellanos own them. And you believe him? Did I? I thought of the intruder's face, the blood on our floor, the methodical way he'd tried to break down the bathroom door. The police had ruled Dad's death natural causes without investigating. They'd close the case in a week. Yes, I said quietly. I believe him. Lucia studied me for a long moment. You like him. Don't be ridiculous. You do. You get this look when you talk about him. Like, I don't know, like you're afraid and fascinated at the same time. He's a criminal, Lucia. He's also protecting us, and he's apparently hot, based on that blush. I'm not. I pressed my hands to my cheeks, felt the heat there. This is not the time. When is the time? When he's killed someone in front of you? But Lucia was grinning now, and I was grateful for the normalcy of her teasing. Come on. What does he look like? Before I could answer, there was a soft knock. The door opened, and a young woman entered with a tray of food, pasta, salad, bread that smelled like heaven. Mr. Moretti's. Compliments, she said, setting it on the table by the window. He asks that you rest tonight. He'll speak with you in the morning. Is he here? The question left my lips before I could stop it. The girl smiled slightly. He just arrived, miss. But he has calls to make. Business. Always business. The kind of business that involved broken doors and gunshots and blood on floors. After she left, Lucia and I ate in silence, both too overwhelmed to talk. When we finished, she retreated to her room, and I stood at the window, looking out at the gardens below. This was my life now, at least temporarily, hiding in a mansion, protected by a man who probably had more blood on his hands than I wanted to imagine. A man I couldn't stop thinking about. I was so lost in thought that I didn't hear the door open, didn't sense him until his voice, low and quiet, came from directly behind me. "You should be sleeping." I spun around. Dante stood in my doorway, still in his suit from earlier though. His tie was gone and his shirt was unbuttoned at the throat. He looked exhausted, and dangerous, and so impossibly magnetic that I forgot to breathe. I couldn't sleep, I managed. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The space suddenly felt much smaller. "You're safe here," he said. "I need you to understand that. No one gets past my gates without my permission. No one touches what's mine." What's mine? The possessiveness in those words should have frightened me. Instead, they sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "You barely know me." "I know enough." He moved closer, and I found myself backing against the window. "I know you're brave, smart, loyal to your sister. I know you loved your father and his death still haunts you." Another step. "And I know that when I touched your face tonight, you stopped breathing." I was in shock. Liar. He was close enough now that I could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. "You feel it too. This thing between us. There's nothing between us." Another lie. His hand came up, fingers grazing my jawline exactly like they had in the car. "You're terrible at lying, Elena. Everything you feel shows on your face." "Then what do you see?" The challenge left my lips before I could think better of it. His thumb traced my lower lip, the one that had bled earlier. The touch was gentle, reverent, completely at odds with the intensity in his eyes. "Want?" he murmured. "Confusion. Fear." His thumb stilled. "And something that terrifies you even more than I do." "What?" He leaned in, his mouth inches from mine, close enough that I could feel his breath, warm against my skin. "Desire." Then he stepped back, breaking the spell, leaving me gasping against the window. "Get some sleep, Elena. We have a lot to discuss in the morning." He moved toward the door, then paused. "And Elena?" "Yes." He looked back at me, and the heat in his gaze made my knees weak. "That. Door locks from the inside. But you won't need it. I don't take what isn't freely given." He left, and I slid down the window, my legs unable to hold me, my heart racing like I'd run a marathon. What terrified me most was that I'd almost grabbed him before he walked away, almost kissed the mobster who was supposed to be my protector, almost given in to the desire he'd named so perfectly. God help me. I was in so much trouble. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a moment of pure panic before I remembered Dante's mansion, protection, safety. The word felt laughable. Nothing about this situation was safe. Least of all the way my pulse quickened when I thought about him standing in my room last night, his thumb on my lip, his voice wrapping around the word desire. I showered in the enormous bathroom, all marble and gold fixtures, and dressed in the only clean clothes I had left, jeans and a simple sweater. When I emerged, I found Lucia already awake, sitting at the small table by the window. "Morning, Sleeping Beauty," she grinned. "Camilla brought breakfast an hour ago. I've already eaten 3 pastries and I'm going back for more. This place is insane." "Where is everyone?" Camilla said. "Most of the staff doesn't live here. They come in daily." As for Dante, she waggled her eyebrows. "He's been in his study since dawn. Apparently he wants to see you when you're ready." My stomach flipped. "Did she say what about?" "Nope, but she gave me this look like I should be worried about you." Lucia's smile faded. "Elena, are you sure about this? We could leave. Go to the police ourselves. Find somewhere else to stay. And if Dante's right about the police being compromised? If the Castellanos find us again?" I shook my head. "No. We're safer here. With him." I didn't add. Camilla appeared at the door as if summoned. "Miss Russo, Mr. Moretti is ready for you. I'll come back soon," I told Lucia, then followed Camilla through the low mansion's corridors. She led me to the west wing, Dante's private domain, and stopped outside an ornate door. His study. Knock before entering. Then she was gone, leaving me alone in the hallway. I raised my hand, hesitated, You feel it too. This thing between us. I knocked. Enter. His voice, commanding even through wood. The study was exactly what I'd expected. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk, leather chairs, and windows overlooking the gardens. What I hadn't expected was the wall of screens, showing various security feeds, the gates, the grounds, multiple points throughout the city, and Dante, standing with his back to me, hands braced on the desk, staring at something I couldn't see. He'd changed into dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle. His hair was damp, like he'd recently showered. "Close the door," he said without turning. I obeyed. He straightened, turned, and the intensity in his eyes made my breath catch. He looked like he hadn't slept, like he'd spent the night fighting demons I couldn't see. "How's your sister?" he asked. "Good. Overwhelmed, but good. And you?" "The same." He studied me for a long moment. "Come here." It wasn't a request. I crossed the study, stopping a few feet from the desk. He moved around it, eliminating the barrier between us, and suddenly we were too close. I could smell his cologne, the same scent from the car, intoxicating and dangerous. "I had my people working all night," he said. "Digging into your father's death, the Castellanos' operations, Blackstone Finance." He reached behind him and pulled out a file folder. "What I found. It's not good. Tell me." He opened the folder, revealing documents, photos, financial records. "Your father did see something. The night he died, there was a meeting at Blackstone, high-level Castellano operatives moving money. Vincent walked in to empty the trash. My hands clenched. And they killed him for that? Not immediately. They couldn't risk making it obvious." Dante's jaw tightened. "They waited 2 weeks, made it look like a heart attack. But the coroner who signed off? He's on the Castellano payroll, as is the detective who closed the case. Why are you telling me this?" My voice shook. "Why do you care?" "Because your father didn't deserve to die for doing his job. Because you and your sister don't deserve to live in fear." He stepped closer. And because the Castellanos taking out innocent people pisses me off. There's more to it than that." "Yes." His hand came up, cupping my face with a gentleness that contradicted everything I knew about him. "There is." "What?" "You," he said simply. "I can't stop thinking about you. I barely know you. And yet." He trailed off, his thumb stroking my cheek. "I've never let anyone affect me like this. It's dangerous. Stupid. And I don't care. Dante, let me finish." His other hand found my waist, drawing me closer. "You walked into my life. By accident. You should have been a complication, something to investigate and dismiss. Instead, you've become something else entirely." "What?" I barely breathed the word. "Mine." The possessiveness in his voice was absolute. "I know I shouldn't claim you. Know I should let you go, keep you safe by staying away. But I can't. I won't. You're a criminal. It came out weak, unconvincing. Yes, you've probably killed people. More than you want to know about. I should be terrified of you. You should." His forehead touched mine. "But you're not. Are you?" "No." The admission felt like surrender. "I should be, but I'm not." "Tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me to walk away, let you go. Tell me this is insane and we both know it. It is insane. That's not telling me to stop." "Dante," he kissed me. Not gently, not tentatively. His mouth claimed mine with a hunger that stole my breath, his hands pulling me flush against him. The kiss was demanding, possessive, and absolutely devastating. I kissed him back. God help me. I kissed him back like I was drowning and he was air. My hands found his shirt, fisting in the fabric, pulling him closer even though there was no space left between us. He tasted like coffee and danger and something I couldn't name but desperately wanted more of. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were nearly black. "Say it," he demanded. "Say you're mine." "This is crazy." "Say it anyway." I should have lied. Should have pulled away, rebuilt my walls, remembered all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, I heard myself whisper, "I'm yours." The smile that crossed his face was pure triumph. Then it vanished as his phone buzzed urgently. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor shifted. The man who'd just kissed me like the world was ending became the crime boss in an instant. Cold, calculating, lethal. Fuck. What? The Castellanos. He was already moving toward his desk, pulling up something on one of the screens. They just put a price on your head. $500,000 to whoever brings you in alive. The blood drained from my face. Why? Because they think you know something. That your father told you something before he died. Dante's hands clenched into fists. Or because they know you're with me now, and hurting you is the fastest way to hurt me. How do they even know I'm here? They don't. But they will. He looked at me, and for the first time since we met, I saw something close to fear in his eyes. Elena, this just became war. And you're standing in the crossfire. Then let me go. Let them have me, tell them. No. The word was absolute. You're mine now. That means I protect you, no matter what it costs. Even if it costs lives? Your organization? Even then. The door burst open. Marco stood there, weapon drawn. Boss, we've got movement at the east gate. 3 vehicles. Unmarked. Dante's jaw set. Get every man we have on the perimeter. No one gets through. Already done. And Elena? Dante turned to me, goes to the safe room. Now. What? No. Elena. His voice turned to steel. This isn't a discussion. Marco moved toward me, but I stepped back. I'm not hiding while you... Gunfire erupted. The windows exploded inward in a shower of glass. Dante grabbed me, pulling me down behind the desk as bullets tore through the study. I heard Marco returning fire, heard shouting from somewhere in the house, heard my own scream lost in the chaos. Stay down, Dante commanded, his body covering mine. More gunfire, closer now. Then Dante's phone rang. He answered, still shielding me with his body. What? A pause. His face went white. When? He lowered the phone slowly, looked at me with eyes full of fury and something else, something that looked like devastation. What? I whispered. They don't just want you, Elena. His voice was hollow. They took Lucia. Time stopped. What? The word came out strangled, barely audible over the ringing in my ears from the gunfire. No. She was in her room. She was safe. They had someone inside. Dante's voice was cold fury. A maid. Been on my payroll for 3 years. Vetted twice. They got to her. How long ago? I was shaking, my hands clutching at his shirt. Dante, how long has she been gone? 15 minutes. Maybe less. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. Marco, lock down the property. I want every person here accounted for. And get Salvatore on the line. He paused, listening. I don't care what he's doing. Get him. I couldn't breathe. Lucia, my baby sister, in the hands of people who'd killed our father, who'd broken into our apartment, who'd put a price on my head. Elena? Dante's hands cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. Listen to me. We will get her back. I promise you. You can't promise that. I can, and I do. His eyes burned with certainty. The Castellanos want you. They took her to force, want you to surrender, which means they won't hurt her. Not yet. Not yet. The words tasted like ash. Oh God, Dante, she must be so scared. Then we don't give them time to hurt her. He pulled me to my feet. Come with me. The study was destroyed, shattered windows, bullet holes in the walls, debris everywhere. But the attack had stopped. Dante's men had driven them back, at least temporarily. He led me through the mansion to a room I hadn't seen before, hidden behind a bookshelf in the library, accessible only by fingerprint scanner. Inside was what could only be called a war room. Screens showed live feeds from across the city. Maps covered one wall. A table held an arsenal of weapons that made my stomach turn. 4 men stood around the table. They looked up as we entered, and I saw the same cold calculation in their eyes that I'd seen in Dante's. Soldiers. Killers. Gentlemen, Dante said. Change of plans. The Castellanos have escalated. He outlined the situation in clipped, efficient sentences. Lucia's abduction. The price on my head. The mole in his organization. They want you to trade yourself for your sister. The oldest man, Salvatore, I guessed, said, looking at me. Classic hostage exchange. Which we're not doing, Dante said flatly. With respect, boss, another man interjected. If the alternative is letting the girl die, there is no alternative. Dante's voice could have cut steel. We get Lucia back without trading Elena. We make the Castellanos regret ever touching what's mine. What's mine? Again, that possessive claim. Under other circumstances, I might have objected. Right now, I clung to it like a lifeline. They'll be expecting us, Salvatore said. Probably want the exchange at a location they control, with overwhelming force. Then we don't play by their rules. Dante leaned over the table, studying a map of Boston. We hit them first, before they can consolidate their position. You want to start a war over a girl? The youngest man looked incredulous. Dante's head snapped up. That girl is under my protection, which means she's untouchable. The Castellanos forgot that. Now they learn. How do we even know where they're holding her? I asked, finding my voice despite the terror choking me. Because they want us to know. Dante pointed to his phone, where a text message had appeared, an address, and a photo of Lucia alive, scared, but unharmed, sitting in what looked like a warehouse. They sent this 5 minutes ago. It's a trap, Salvatore said. Obviously, Dante straightened. So we spring it, but on our terms. For the next 20 minutes, I watched these men criminals, murderers plan a rescue operation with military precision, exit routes, sniper positions, diversionary tactics. They discussed violence like other people discussed weather, casual and confident. And Dante was magnificent, commanding, absolute. Every man in that room would die for him without question. I could see it in their eyes. Finally, the plan was set. Dante dismissed everyone except Salvatore, who lingered by the door. This is risky, Dante. Even for you. I know. She's just a girl. Is she really worth... Yes. Dante didn't hesitate. She is. Salvatore looked at me, something like pity in his eyes. Then he left. I was alone with Dante again. The silence felt heavy, charged with everything unsaid. I'm coming with you, I said. No. She's my sister. I'm not staying here while... Elena. He crossed to me in 2 strides. If I'm worrying about protecting you, I can't focus on getting Lucia out. You understand? You being there makes it harder, not easier. I can't just sit here. You can. You will. His hands gripped my shoulders. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I wanted to argue. Wanted to scream that I wouldn't be left behind while my sister's life hung in the balance. But I looked into Dante's eyes and saw something that made me pause. Fear. He was afraid. For me. For Lucia. Maybe for both of us. I trust you, I whispered. Something in his expression softened. I will bring her back. I swear it on my life. Don't. I grabbed his shirt. Don't swear on your life. Just come back. Both of you. Elena, I'm serious, Dante. I can't... My voice broke. I can't lose anyone else. Not Lucia. Not you. His forehead dropped to mine. You won't. Then he was kissing me again, desperate this time, almost violent, like he was memorizing me, like he thought he might not get another chance. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark. Dangerous. Stay in this room. Marco stays with you. The door locks from the inside. If anyone other than me or one of my men tries to get in... He pressed a gun into my hand. I recoiled, but he closed my fingers around it firmly. The safety's here. Point and pull the trigger. Don't hesitate, Dante. Promise me. I promise. He kissed my forehead, then turned and walked toward the door. He was almost through it, when I called out. Dante? He stopped, looked back. The words caught in my throat. Too much. Too fast. Too impossible. Be careful. Something flickered in his eyes, like he knew what I'd almost said, what I hadn't been brave enough to admit. Always am, sweetheart. Then he was gone. And I was left in a room full of weapons and screens, showing a city about to become a battlefield, holding a gun and praying to any god who'd listen that the man I'd known for less than 24 hours would come back alive. With my sister. The screens flickered. I watched Dante and his men climb into SUVs, watched them drive through the gates, watched them disappear into Boston's nighttime streets. Going to war. For Lucia. For me. Marco stood silently by the door, an imposing shadow. He'll get her back, he said quietly. The boss doesn't fail. Not when it matters. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. On the screen, I watched the SUVs turn a corner and vanish from view. And I realized with devastating clarity that somewhere in the chaos of the last day, I'd done the stupidest thing possible. I'd fallen for him. For Dante Moretti. Mobster. Killer. The most dangerous man in Boston. Mine. God help us all. The waiting was torture. I paced the war room like a caged animal, watching the screens that showed various parts of the city but not the warehouse where Lucia was being held. Marco had tried to explain that Dante couldn't risk the Castellanos detecting their communications, so the cameras were off, the feeds dead, blind. We were completely blind. How long has it been? I asked for the 100th time. 37 minutes. Marco's voice was patient. He'd answered every time without complaint. Should it take this long? Depends on resistance. The plan was a fast extraction in and out in 20 minutes. But plans change. That's not comforting. Wasn't meant to be. Just honest. I sank into a chair, the gun Dante had given me heavy on my lap. I'd never held a weapon before tonight. Never imagined I'd have to. Now it felt like the only solid thing in a world that had tilted sideways. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart stopped. I looked at Marco, who tensed immediately. Don't answer. I answered. Hello, Elena. The voice was smooth, cultured, and utterly terrifying in its calm. My name is Luca Castellano. I believe we should talk. Where's my sister? Safe. For now. A pause. You know your father was a good man. Quiet. Kept his head down. It's unfortunate he saw what he saw. Rage surged through me. You killed him. I did what was necessary, just like I'm doing now. Another pause. Dante Moretti thinks he can storm in here and take what's mine. He's wrong. And when his men are dead and your sister is screaming, you'll understand that there are rules in this world. Rules that don't bend for pretty girls and misguided loyalties. If you hurt her, then what, Elena? You'll kill me? You're a waitress playing, in a world you don't understand. His voice hardened. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of Dante's mansion. You're going to come to the address I text you, alone, and you're going to trade yourself for your sister. Dante will kill you. Dante will try. He might even succeed. But not before I've ended everyone he loves. Starting with you. The threat was delivered conversationally, like discussing the weather. You have 1 hour. After that, your sister loses fingers. 1 per hour until you arrive. The line went dead. I sat frozen, the phone slipping from my hand. What did he say? Marco moved toward me. He wants me to trade myself for Lucia. 1 hour, or he starts cutting off her fingers. Jesus. Marco ran a hand through his hair. Okay, we call the boss. He needs to know. We can't reach him. You said so yourself. Then we wait. He'll handle this. In an hour? I stood, my hands shaking. Marco, he's going to hurt her. You heard what I said. 1 finger per hour. It's a bluff. The Castellanos need leverage. What if it's not? My voice rose. What if Lucia is screaming in pain right now because I'm too scared to do what he asked? Miss Russo, you can't. I can. I picked up the gun, checking it like Dante had shown me. Safety off. Round chambered. I'm going. Marco stepped between me and the door. The boss gave me explicit orders. You don't leave this room. Then stop me. We stared at each other. Marco was trained, armed, loyal to Dante above all else. I was a terrified girl with a borrowed gun and no plan, but I was also Lucia's sister. Please, I whispered. If it were someone you loved, wouldn't you go? Something flickered in his eyes. Pain. Memory. Dante will kill me for this, he muttered. Then tell him I knocked you out. Took your gun. Whatever you need to say. He won't believe that. Probably not. I moved toward the door, but I'll tell him the truth that I chose this, that you tried to stop me. Marco was silent for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he stepped aside. Take the back exit. Through the kitchen. There's a car in the garage gray sedan. Keys in the visor. Don't use your phone. They're probably tracking it. He pressed something into my hand. A different phone. Burner, Dante's number is programmed in. When you get there, call him. Let him know where you are. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just. He looked away. Try not to die. The boss would never forgive himself. I ran. Through the mansion's corridors, down the service stairs, through a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a five-star restaurant. The garage held a dozen cars, all expensive, all beautiful. I found the gray sedan, grabbed the keys, and drove through a back gate that Marco must have opened remotely. The address Castellano sent was in South Boston, an industrial area, mostly abandoned at night, perfect for crimes you wanted no witnesses to. It took me 23 minutes to get there. I parked a block away, gripping the gun and the burner phone, called Dante. He answered immediately. "Elena? What the fuck?" Marco said. "I'm at the exchange point." Castellano called. Said he'd hurt Lucia if I didn't come. The words tumbled out. "I'm sorry. I know you told me to stay, but I couldn't. Where are you?" His voice was deadly calm. I gave him the address. "Don't go in." It was an order. "Do you hear me, Elena? Do not go into that building. He has my sister. And I have men 3 minutes out. Wait for us." He said 1 hour. It's been... Gunfire erupted. Not from the warehouse. From behind me. I spun around and saw black SUVs, not Dante's, pulling up to the building. Men with weapons pouring out. "Elena?" Dante's voice sharp with panic. "What's happening?" "Other people are here. I don't know who. It's the Irish. Holy fuck. The Irish are moving on the Castellanos." He was shouting now, giving orders to someone else. "Elena, get out of there. Now. It's about to become a war zone." As if to punctuate his words, an explosion rocked the warehouse. Windows shattered. Men screamed. "Lucia's in there!" I was already running toward the building. "Elena." "No." But I dropped the phone. Gun in hand, I ran toward the fire and smoke and chaos, driven by a single thought. My sister is in there. I made it to the side entrance. The door hung open, blown off its hinges. Inside was hell gunfire, smoke, men fighting in close quarters. I stumbled through, trying to see through the haze. "Lucia!" I screamed. A hand grabbed my arm. I spun, raising the gun. Dante, covered in blood, not his. I prayed, his eyes wild. "You stupid, brave, infuriating woman," he growled. Then he was kissing me, hard and fast, like a man saying goodbye. "Stay behind me. Move when I move. And for the love of God, shoot anything that isn't me." We pushed deeper into the warehouse together. Hell had come to Boston. The warehouse was chaos incarnate. Castellano soldiers, fighting Irish gangsters, Dante's men cutting through both sides, and somewhere in this nightmare, my sister. Dante moved like violence personified, every motion economical and lethal. I'd seen him as a businessman, as a protector, even as a lover. Now I saw what he really was, a killer. He shot a man without hesitation, stepped over the body, shot another. Each movement was precise, practiced. He'd done this before. Many times. "Left!" I screamed. He pivoted, firing. A Castellano soldier dropped. "Good girl," Dante said, not looking back. "Keep your eyes open." We pushed through a corridor filled with smoke. Bodies lined the floor, some moving, most not. I tried not to look at their faces, tried not to think about the fact that they'd been alive minutes ago. "Dante!" One of his men, Salvatore, appeared through the smoke, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. "Boss, the Irish have the south wing locked down. They're looking for Castellano himself." "Let them have him." "Where's the girl?" "North side. Second floor. Marco found her, she's alive." Relief nearly brought me to my knees. "Take me to her." "It's not secure, I don't care." I grabbed Dante's arm. "Please." He looked at me, and for a moment, the killer vanished, replaced by the man who'd promised to protect me. "Salvatore, get 10 men and clear us a path. Nothing gets through." "Yes, boss." We fought our way upstairs. Each step felt like miles. My ears rang from gunfire. My hands, when had I fired the gun? I couldn't remember, but it was lighter now, empty, shook uncontrollably. Then I heard it. "Elena." Lucia's voice, terrified but alive. "I'm here." I pushed past Dante, running toward her voice. She was in a room at the end of the hallway, tied to a chair, Marco working to cut her bonds. Her face was bruised, tear-streaked, but she was whole, alive. I crashed into her, pulling her into my arms. Oh God, Lucia," I thought. "I'm okay," she sobbed. "I'm okay. You came. You actually came." "Of course I came, you idiot." I was crying now too, holding her like she might disappear. You're my sister. Touching. A new voice. Cold. But ultimately pointless. We turned. Luca Castellano stood in the doorway, gun pointed at Dante. He was younger than I'd imagined, maybe 40, handsome in a cruel way, with dead eyes that had seen too much. This ends now, Moretti. Dante's weapon was up instantly, aimed at Castellano's head. Agreed. You brought war to my city. You killed an innocent man, threatened his daughters. Dante's voice was ice. You made this personal. Vincent Russo was collateral damage. The girls were loose ends. Castellano's gun never wavered. You should have let me clean this up quietly. Instead, you had to play hero. I don't play, and she's not a loose end. Dante stepped slightly, positioning himself between Castellano and me. She's mine. Sentimental. Your father would be disappointed. My father's dead, and if you don't lower that, a weapon, you will be too. They stood there, two predators locked in a deadly standoff. Behind Castellano, I could see more men appearing, his reinforcements. We were surrounded. You can't shoot all of us, Castellano said softly. Not before we kill you. And then what happens to your precious Elena? Dante's jaw tightened. She walks away. That's the deal. You want me? Fine. Let her and her sister go. No. I grabbed his arm. Dante, don't. Elena. He didn't look at me. Couldn't afford to take his eyes off Castellano. This was always going to end with one of us dead. Better me than you? That's not, I love you. The words stopped my heart. From the moment you looked at me like I was human, I loved you. And that means keeping you alive, even if I'm not there to protect you. Tears streamed down my face. Don't do this. Please. Take your sister. Walk out. Marco will get you somewhere safe. I won't leave you. Yes, you will. Now he did look at me, and his eyes held. Everything regret, love, acceptance. Because I'm asking you to. Because it's the only way you survive. How noble. Castellano smiled. But I'm afraid. The window exploded inward. Glass showered everywhere. Dark shapes poured through men in tactical gear, moving with military precision. FBI, drop your weapons. Chaos erupted. Castellano's men scattered. Dante grabbed me, pulling me down as bullets flew. Lucia screamed. Marco returned fire. And through it all, I heard someone shouting, Luca Castellano, you're under arrest for racketeering, money laundering, and murder. The FBI. The goddamn FBI had raided the warehouse. The Irish, Dante breathed, realization dawning. They tipped them off. They wanted to take out the Castellanos without starting a war. Smart, Salvatore muttered, appearing beside us. And absolutely fucking our escape plan. Then we make a new plan. Dante hauled me to my feet. Backstairs. Now. We ran Lucia, Marco, Salvatore, Dante, and me through smoke and confusion as federal agents swarmed the building. Behind us, I heard Castellano screaming orders, heard his men being taken down. We made it to a service exit. Fresh air hit my face like a blessing. Cars are 2 blocks east, Marco said. If we move. Freeze. An agent, weapon drawn, stepped into our path. Dante raised his hand slowly. We're just leaving. Dante Moretti. The agent smiled grimly. I've been trying to catch you for 3 years. Tonight's my lucky night. Actually, a new voice said, tonight's your unlucky night. A woman emerged from the shadow's FBI jacket, but something in her eyes that didn't match the badge. She looked at Dante, and he nodded slightly. Agent Moretti has been working undercover, the woman said smoothly to the confused agent. These civilians are under his protection. Lower your weapon. The agent hesitated. That's an order. Slowly, he lowered his gun. The woman looked at Dante. You have 10 minutes before this. Cover story falls apart. Use them wisely. Understood. Thank you, Sarah. She nodded and melted back into the chaos. We didn't waste time questioning. We ran. Made it to the cars. Piled in. Drove through the night as sirens wailed behind us. I sat in the back seat. Lucia pressed against my side. Dante driving like the devil himself was chasing us. Maybe he was. That woman, I said quietly. Sarah, who is she? Someone who owed me a favor. Dante's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. And someone who just used up that favor to save your life. Why would she? Because I asked her to. Because I told her if things went wrong, you got out. No matter what. You planned for this. For getting caught. I planned for everything. We drove in silence for several minutes. Finally, Lucia spoke up, her voice small. Elena? Yeah? I think I want to go home. I looked at her bruised face, her terrified eyes, and felt my heart break. Home. Our tiny apartment with its broken door. The life we'd had before a rainy night, and a car crash changed everything. That life was gone. We could never go back. We will, I lied. Soon. But I looked at Dante, and I knew the truth. There was no going back. There was only forward into his world. His darkness, his dangerous love. And God help me, I didn't want to go back. I wanted to stay. Dawn broke over a safe house in the suburbs, a nondescript colonial that blended perfectly with its neighbors. No one would suspect it housed a mob boss, his men, and 2 women who'd barely survived the night. Lucia had finally fallen asleep in one of the bedrooms, sedated by a doctor Dante had called. Marco and Salvatore stood guard. The rest of Dante's men were scattered across the city, cleaning up the aftermath, ensuring no trails led back to us. I stood in the bathroom, staring at my reflection. I barely recognized the woman looking back. Blood on my clothes, not mine. Bruises forming on my arms. Eyes that had seen too much. I love you. Dante's words echoed in my mind. He'd said them thinking he might die. Said them like they were a gift and a curse. Had he meant them? Did I want him to? A soft knock. Elena? His voice. Low, careful. Come in. The door opened. Dante filled the doorway, and my breath caught. He'd cleaned up fresh clothes. The blood washed away, but exhaustion lined his face. He looked like a man who'd fought a war and wasn't sure he'd won. How's Lucia? Sleeping. The doctor said she'll be okay, physically at least. I turned to face him. Mentally, that's going to take time. I'm sorry. The words sounded painful, like they were dragged from somewhere deep. This is my fault. I should have protected her better. You saved her life. After putting it in danger, he stepped into the bathroom, closing the door behind him. The space immediately felt smaller, charged with something I couldn't name. Elena, I meant what I said. In the warehouse. My heart stuttered. Which part? All of it. But especially, he moved closer. Especially that I love you. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're brave enough to crash into my car and strong enough to stand up to me. I know you'd trade your life for your sister's without hesitation. I know that when I touch you, you stop breathing, and when I kiss you, you kiss back like you're drowning. Each word felt like a touch. Dante. I know this is insane, that we've known each other less than 2 days, that I'm the worst possible choice you could make. His hand came up, cupping my face. But I also know that I've never felt like this before. Never wanted to protect someone, keep them, claim them the way I want to with you. You're a criminal. Yes. You kill people. Yes. You live in a world of violence and blood and darkness. Yes. His thumb traced my cheekbone. And I'm asking you to join me in it anyway. That's insane. It is. He leaned in, his forehead touching mine. Say no. Tell me you want. Nothing to do with me. Tell me to get you and Lucia somewhere safe and disappear from your lives forever. Is that what you want? No. I want you in my bed. In my home. In my life. I want to wake up to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to give you everything. Safety. Security. Luxury. Love. His voice dropped, but only if you want it to. I should have said no. Should have chosen safety, normalcy, a life without constant danger. Instead, I said, kiss me. His mouth crashed into mine with a hunger that stole my breath. Different from before, more desperate, more claiming. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me against him, and I responded with equal fervor. I'd nearly lost him tonight, nearly watched him die trying to save me. That changed everything. Elena. He broke the kiss, breathing hard. If you let me start, I won't stop. I won't be able to. Then don't stop. Something flared in his eyes, heat and possession and pure need. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He lifted me effortlessly, setting me on the counter. His hands found the hem of my shirt, pulling it over my head. His mouth found my throat, my collarbone, the curve of my shoulder. Each touch was deliberate, claiming, marking me as his. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he murmured against my skin. "I won't. Tell me if I'm going too fast." "You're not. Tell me," his hand stilled on my waist. "Tell me you're mine." I looked into his eyes, dark, dangerous, devastating, and saw everything I'd been fighting against since the moment we met. The attraction, the connection, the impossible, irrational certainty that this man, this criminal, was somehow exactly where I belonged. "I'm yours," I whispered, completely. The sound he made was somewhere between a growl and a groan. Then his mouth was on mine again, and clothes were disappearing, and his hands were everywhere, learning me, memorizing me. "Beautiful," he murmured. "So fucking beautiful." No one had ever looked at me the way Dante did, like I was precious, powerful, his. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, perfect. When he finally lifted me, carrying me to the bedroom adjacent to the bathroom, I felt no fear, no hesitation, just absolute certainty. This was right. He was right. He laid me on the bed with a gentleness that contradicted his ruthless reputation. "I've wanted this since I saw you standing in the rain," he said, his body covering mine. "Wanted you. Then take me." "No." His mouth found mine in a kiss that was surprisingly tender. "I'm not taking anything. You're giving yourself to me. There's a difference." And he was right. This wasn't about possession or conquest. It was about surrender, mutual, willing, complete. We made love slowly, thoroughly, with an intensity that left us both shaking. He was gentle when I needed it, demanding when I didn't. He learned every sound I made, every place that made me gasp, and he used that knowledge, ruthlessly. When I finally shattered in his arms, crying his name, he followed me over the edge, his own release ringing a sound from his throat that sounded almost like pain. Afterward, we lay tangled together, our breathing slowly returning to normal. "I love you," he said quietly. In case that wasn't clear, I laughed, exhausted, overwhelmed, deliriously happy. It was pretty clear. "Good." He pressed a kiss to my forehead. "Because you're stuck with me now." "Is that a threat or a promise?" "Both." I snuggled closer, feeling safer than I had since my father died. Safer than I'd ever felt, really. "Dante?" "What happens now?" "The Castellanos. The FBI. All of it." His arms tightened around me. "Now? We finish this. The Castellanos are Don Lucas in federal custody, and the FBI will find enough evidence to put away the rest. The Irish will move into their territory, and I'll negotiate new terms with them." "And us?" "Us." He tilted my chin up, his eyes serious. "You and Lucia stay with me, under my protection, in my home, in my life, if that's what you want. What about normal? School for Lucia, work for me. Lucia can finish school. You can do whatever makes you happy, but you do it as mine, under my name, protected by my power." He stroked my hair. "I know it's not the life you planned, but it's the life I can give you. Safety, security, love, and darkness. And darkness," he agreed. "I won't lie to you about what I am, Elena. I've done terrible things. I'll do more. But I will never, ever let that darkness touch you." I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay? I'm yours. We'll stay. We'll make this work." His smile was brilliant, transforming his face. "I promise you won't regret it. I better not, Moretti." He laughed and pulled me closer, and I let myself sink into his warmth, his strength, his love. Outside, dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. A new day, a new life. Dangerous, impossible, perfect, mine. 3 months later, the mansion no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like home. I stood on the balcony of what had become our bedroom, mine and Dante's, watching the sun set over Boston. Below, the gardens were in full bloom, and I could hear Lucia laughing with Camilla in the kitchen. She was teaching my sister to make pasta from scratch, something that would have seemed impossible 3 months ago. But so much had changed. The Castellanos were gone, Luca convicted on enough charges to ensure he'd die in prison. his organization dismantled and absorbed by Dante's allies. The FBI had questioned me exactly once, and a lawyer Dante hired had ensured they couldn't touch me. Apparently, being the girlfriend of Boston's most powerful crime boss came with excellent legal protection. Girlfriend. The word felt inadequate for what Dante and I were to each other. Lovers, partners, soulmates, if I believed in such things. You're thinking too hard. His arms, wrapped around me from behind, pulling me against his chest. I can hear the wheels turning, just reflecting. On how different everything is. How different I am. I leaned back into him. 3 months ago, I was a waitress who'd never broken a rule in her life. Now I'm mine. He pressed a kiss to my temple. Say it. Yours. The word came easily now, without hesitation. Completely and totally yours. Good. His hand splayed across my stomach. Possessive. Because I have something to ask you. My heart skipped. What? He turned me in his arms, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Nervousness. Vulnerability. Dante? He took a small box from his pocket, opened it. Inside was a ring, a diamond so large it looked obscene, set in platinum, surrounded by smaller stones that caught the fading light. Marry me, he said. Not a question, a statement. I stared at the ring, then at him, my mind reeling. That's not how you're supposed to propose. I don't do things the way I'm supposed to. You know that. His free hand cupped my face. I know it's fast. I know we're still learning each other. But I also know that I want you to be mine legally, officially, in every way that matters. I want you to take my name, sleep in my bed, bear my children, if you want them. I want forever, Elena. With you. Tears pricked my eyes. Dante, if you're not ready, tell me. I'll wait. I'll ask again in 6 months, a year, whenever you're ready. But I need you to know that this, he gestured between us, isn't temporary for me. You're not a phase or a distraction. You're my future. Your family supports this, completely. Salvatore told me yesterday that if I didn't lock you down, someone else would steal you. He smiled slightly. Marco said I don't deserve you, but that's true and also not his business. What about Lucia? Thinks it's romantic. Also said if I hurt you, she'll poison my food. His expression turned serious. But this isn't about them. It's about us. About whether you can see yourself in this life. Forever. Could I? I looked at the ring, at this man who'd turned my world upside down, and tried to imagine saying no. Couldn't do it. Yes, I whispered. His entire face transformed. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I want forever. Yes, I'm yours. I laughed through my tears. Yes to all of it, Dante Moretti. He slid the ring onto my finger with shaking hands, then pulled me into a kiss that made the world disappear. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, his eyes were suspiciously bright. I love you, he murmured. So fucking much. I love you too. And I meant it, completely, terrifyingly. Even though you're a criminal and this is insane and perfect. He kissed me again. We're perfect. A throat cleared behind us. We turned to find Lucia standing in the doorway, grinning like a madwoman. Did she say yes? She said yes. Finally, Camilla owes me $20. I bet you'd do it. Tonight. She bounced over, grabbing my hand to examine the ring. Holy shit, this thing is huge. Could double as a weapon. Language, I said automatically. You're marrying a mobster and you're worried about my language? But she was laughing, hugging me tight. I'm happy for you, Elena. Really. He's good for you. Makes you smile again. He makes me crazy. Same thing. She pulled back, her expression turning serious. You're sure about this? About him? About all of it? I looked at Dante, at the man who'd saved my life, protected my sister, and somehow made me believe in love again. I'm sure. Then I guess we're staying. Lucia grinned. This place does have great pasta. Dante laughed and pulled her into a hug too. Welcome to the family, kid. Officially. Over her head, his eyes met mine, and I saw everything in them. Love, promise, forever. We'd come so far from that rainy night, from the crash that brought us together. Through violence and fear and impossible choices, we'd survived it all. And now we got to build something new. Something that was ours. Dinner's ready. Camilla called from downstairs. We went down together, Lucia chattering about wedding plans. Dante's hand warm in mine, the ring heavy on my finger. My father would have hated this. My mother would have been horrified. But somehow, I thought they'd understand. That sometimes love doesn't look like you expect. Sometimes it's dangerous and dark and wrapped in violence. Sometimes it saves you anyway. That night, after dinner and champagne and too many congratulations from Dante's men, we lay in bed together, wrapped in sheets and moonlight. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. "None." I traced the line of his jaw. "You?" "Only that I didn't crash into you first. Would have saved time." I laughed and kissed him, and he rolled me beneath him, his weight comfortable, familiar, perfect. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you happy," he murmured against my lips, "making sure you never regret choosing me. This life. I know. I'm going to protect you, keep you safe, love you until my last breath. I know that too. And I'm going to be completely insufferable about the fact that you're mine now, legally, officially, forever. I'd expect nothing less." He kissed me then, slow and deep and full of promise. And as I surrendered to him again, to us, to this impossible life we'd built from darkness and chaos, I realized something. I'd walked into the darkness expecting to be consumed. Instead, I'd found light. His light. Ours. And I'd never been happier. Outside, Boston slept, unaware that one of its most powerful men had just claimed his queen, that a girl who'd crashed her car in the rain had become someone new, someone stronger, someone loved, someone home.